In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to create a stunning onboarding flow for your Flutter application. Our application is going to have the following functionality. We're going to be presented with a screen that is going to display our onboarding flow, and then we'll have the ability to either swipe through our onboarding flow, which is going to present different pages to us with different pieces of information. And if we want to swipe in another way, we can also use the buttons presented at the bottom to go from one page to the next. And finally, we're also going to be using the progress indicator at the bottom in the form of dots to actually signify to the user how far along they're in the onboarding process. And they can click on these dots as well to actually move through the onboarding flow. So with this said, let's get into it. So to get started, the first thing that we're going to be doing is taking a look at the dependencies for our project. The only dependency that we're going to be using for this project is going to be a package called Smooth Page Indicator. And as a side note, links to all of the resources that I mentioned within this video, as well as a link to the source code, can be found in the description below. So feel free to take a look at it if you're confused at any point. So we're going to be copying the Smooth Page Indicator dependency from pub.dev, coming back, and then coming to our pubspec.yaml file. And here I'm going to be pasting it under the dependency section for my project and doing command save. Once this is done, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is adding all of the asset file that my actual project depends on. So in this case, the only assets that we need to import are 3 image files. So to do that, I'm going to be coming to my actual base folder. Here, I'm going to be creating a folder called assets. Underneath of that, I'm going to be creating a new folder called images. And then underneath of images, I'm going to be opening it up in Finder, or you're going to be opening it up in File Explorer if you're using Windows. And then here, what I'm going to be doing is actually dragging and dropping in the actual images that I want to display. So my images are going to have the name accordingly for each of the screens on the onboarding flow. So for onboarding 1, we show this picture, onboarding 2, it's this one, and onboarding 3, it's this one. So now that this is done, what I'm now going to be doing is closing down the assets folder, coming back to my pubspec.yaml file, scrolling down to where it says Flutter, and then I'm going to uncomment the assets line, and then I'm going to uncomment the next line after that as well, make sure that the indentations are correct, and then I'm going to say that Flutter is going to make available all of the assets that are under the assets/images folder like so, and do command save. Once this is done, I'll let Flutter PubGets do its magic, make sure that all of the packages are downloaded, there are no errors, and after this, I'll start debugging my application. Welcome back, everybody. So now that our application is running, let's quickly take a look at the basic skeleton of our application. In my main.dart file, I have my class, which is my app, which has a build function, which returns a material app. And the home property for that is set to my widget, which is called onboarding page, which is a stateful widget. Besides that, there's nothing else. The stateful widget's build function returns a scaffold. So we're going to be starting from the ground up. So the first thing that I want you to take a look at is the actual design of our onboarding flow. We're going to have some content that is going to change on our page, which is going to be the stuff that includes the image, the title, the description, as well as the actual button and the text on the button. And then at the bottom of it, we're going to have an indicator, which is going to indicate to us how far along we're in the onboarding flow. So this basically means that we can divide our UI into 2 parts, the actual indicators and then all of the other stuff that we can swipe through. So to begin building my actual onboarding page, I'm going to set the body property for my scaffold to be a column, like so. And then I'm going to set the children for this column to be an empty list for now. Once I've defined my column, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is actually wrapping it with the padding. I'm going to be doing that by doing Control-Shift-R on my keyboard, and then I'm going to be wrapping the column with a padding widget. The padding here is going to be edge-inted, so it's symmetric, and then I'm going to say it's going to be 50 pixels from the top and bottom, and this is going to be on the vertical axis like so. So once I've done this, we can now move on to our column. For my column, as I had alluded to before, we're going to have this top part, which consists of everything such as the image, title, description, and then the button. And below that, we're going to have our actual smooth page indicators. So let's build that first. So to do this, the first thing that I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be adding a smooth page indicator widget to my actual column. And then we have to provide it with 2 things. One is a controller, and then one is the amount of actual dot it's going to be showing. So where can we get this controller from? Well, this controller is going to be of type page controller. So let's quickly create it. So to create a page controller, what I'll do is that I'll go to the top of my class, and I'm going to say that I'm going to define a static variable on my class, and you'll see why we're defining a static variable later on. But a static variable final page controller called page controller, then I'm going to be setting it to a new instance of page controller like so, and then I'm going to say that the initial page is going to be 0. And once this is done, that's pretty much all we have to do. So now I'll copy my page controller, I'll give it to my smooth page indicator, and then finally for the count, let's do 3 and we'll change it later and do command save. So now I can see my smooth page indicators. So quickly what I want to do is actually fix these positioning for my column. So for that, I'll set the main axis size, main axis alignment, and cross axis alignment for my column like so, and do command save. And now that this is done, we can move on to the next part, which is to actually add all of the UI, which constitutes the stuff that is above these indicators. So if you look at our design, you can kind of see that the actual layout of all of the content is going to be pretty similar. Only the stuff that's going to change is the actual content. So we're going to be showing an image at the same spot. We're going to be showing a title at the same spot, but the title is just going to change. So what we can do is actually create a reusable component that we can then use again and again within our actual widget tree to show all of these different onboarding screens. So to do that, what I'll do is that I'll come to my lib folder, and here I'm going to create a folder called the widgets. Once this is done, I'm going to create a new file under this, and I'm going to call this onboarding_card.dart. Once this is done, I'm going to create a stateless class. I'm going to call this onboarding card, and then I'll do command save. And for now, for this class, what I'll do is just return a sized box like so, and do command save. Once this is done, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be coming back to my onboarding page, and what I'm going to be doing is now that I'm going to be adding a expanded widget to my actual column before the page indicator. And then for the child for this expanded widget, I'm going to say that we're going to be using a page view. And for the page view, we're going to be defining a controller, and this controller will be the same as our page controller. And now you might have a question as to what is a page view? Well, a page view is a widget that allows us to embed children within it, and then we can go between these children using a swiping gesture by defining our actual page controller. So now we're basically using the same controller and linking our page indicators with our page view. So all of the information shown is homogeneous and it reacts to the changes on the screen. And you'll see how this works. But for my page view, similar to how a column might work or a list view might work, it expects a list of children. And these are the childrens that we can swipe between. So for now it's empty, but now what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be going to the top of our class. And here I'm going to be defining a list of widgets, and I'm going to say that the name for this is going to be called onboarding pages. Let's say this. And then what I'm going to be doing is setting this equal to an empty list. And then within this, I'm going to be adding our onboarding card like so, and then doing command save. So now if I go back to my onboarding card, and I'm going to quickly change this to a container, and then I'm going to give my container a color, which is going to be colors.red, and I'll do command save. And then what I'll do is that I'm also going to be giving my container a specific height and width. So to do that, I am just going to be copying and pasting these values in. So the height is going to be 80% of the height of the screen, and the width is completely. Do command save. If we come back, we take our onboarding pages, we go back to our page view, and we set the children's list to be now our onboarding pages list, and do command save. You can see that now our page view is being shown, and our page view is displaying the first child in this list, which is our onboarding card, which has a red color. So now what we can do is actually style this properly, and then we can reuse it again and again. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is for our onboarding card is actually adding our image. So to do that, I'm going to come to my container. I'm going to say that the child for this container is now going to be a column. Then the column is going to have a children's list, and I'll do command save. The first one is going to be a image. So what I'm going to be doing is saying that we're going to have image.asset, and then we're going to pass in a name. So for now, what I'll do is that I'll say that it's going to be an empty name, so we're not loading anything. And then what I'll do is that I'll come to the top of my onboarding card, and here I'm going to say that I'm going to define a variable, which is going to be final string image, and I'm going to say that this is something that's going to be passed as a name parameter to this class like so. And then for the image.asset, we'll pass it this image like so. So this is going to be the path to our image. To command save, and then I'll stop running my application for now. I'll come back to my onboarding page, come to where I have my onboarding pages list, say that the image here, and then I'm going to say that the image here is going to be assets/images/onboarding_1.png. PNG, do Command Save. And now if we run our application again, hopefully this time the image should be displayed to us. Welcome back everybody. So as you can see, the image is being displayed. So now what I want to do is just basically fix the styling for this image. So for that, what I'll do is that I am basically going to be wrapping my image with an actual padding widget. So for that, I'll do Command Shift R, and then I'm going to say wrap with padding. And the padding in this case is going to be padding edgeinsets.all and then 50 pixels from all sides, do Command Save, and there we go. And then the final thing that I'm going to be doing is setting the fit property for my image to be boxfit.contain. Once this is done, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is tackling the title and the description. So to do that, what I'll do is that after my padding widget, here I'm going to add a column. And the reason I'm using a column here is because I want to actually bunch the title and the description together. So for that, I'm placing them within a column by itself. And this way, they're both going to be treated as a child of the parent column. So this is the reason for that. What I'm going to do is for the children's list, I'll add a text. The text for now is going to say, let's just say welcome, like so. And then I'm going to do Command Save, like so. We can see welcome. I'm going to set the text align property for this to be text align center. And then I'm also going to set the styling property for this to be the following, and do Command Save. And then what I'll do is that I'll copy this text and I'll add it once more. But this time it's going to be the description. So for now, we can do lorem ipsum 1 2 3 4 5 6 description, something like that. Let's just do this. So as we can see, it looks like this. Then what I'm going to be doing is basically setting the styling for this to be a bit different. So let me update the styling. Text align will still be center. And then since I want some space between the title and the description, what I'm going to be doing is wrapping the text with a padding widget. So Control Shift R again, wrap with padding. And this time the padding is going to be edgeinsets.all, 10 pixels from all sides, like so. So now we have our title and description. So now the last thing that I want to do is show a material button down below, which we can use to actually go between the pages and actually show for each of our onboarding screens. So for that, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be adding that to the main column, not the column that we just created for the text. So I'm going to come and I'm going to be adding it here, and I'm going to say material button. Then for the onPress property, for now we'll leave that to be empty, like so. Do Command Save, and then I'm going to set the minimum width for this button to be 300, and I'm going to set the color for this button to be the primary color from our color scheme that's derived from our theme. And then finally, I'm going to set the child for this to be a text widget that for now says next. And then what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to set the styling for this text to be just white text. And that's pretty much it. That's all we had to do. So now I want to quickly fix the actual positioning and sizing of our elements within our column. So for that, what I'm going to be doing is coming to the very top where I have my main column. And here I'm going to say that the main axis size is going to be maximum. Since I want the children between this column to be evenly spaced, I'm going to set the main axis alignment to space evenly. So the main axis for a column is going to be the vertical axis. And then for the cross axis alignment, I'm going to do cross axis alignment dot center and do Command Save. So now we have an excellent looking page that we can utilize. But right now, if I go back to my onboarding page, all I have to do is basically take this onboarding card, add it again, change the image, do Command Save. And now if I restart my application, I should be able to scroll between the pages, as you can see. But I also want to make the title, the description, and the text to be dynamic within the button. So how do we do this? Well, to do this, what I'll do is that I'll come back to my onboarding card. Here I'm going to say that besides taking in the actual path to our image, we'll also take in a title, we'll take in a description, and we are going to be taking in a button text. And then besides this, I'm also going to be taking in a function, which is going to be the function that will be responsible for actually doing something when the button gets pressed. So we're delegating the responsibility of something happening when the button gets pressed to outside of this widget and taking that responsibility away from this widget. Then, as we had alluded to before, I'm just going to add all of these parameters as named arguments that have to be passed to the onboarding card when it gets created. We're going to come back to our onboarding page. I'm going to remove the second instance of our onboarding card and just work with the first one for now. And here what I'm going to be doing is just adding the title and everything other than like that. So the title for the first page is going to be the following, which is welcome to Suno.io. Then the description, I'm going to copy and paste that in, which is going to be this. Then I'm going to paste in the text for the button. So in this case, the text for our button is going to be button text, which is saying going to be next. And then finally, I'm going to set the onPressed property for now to be an empty function. Now, if I restart my application, you're going to notice that nothing changes. And the reason for that is because we now need to utilize these variables within our actual onboarding card. So let's go down. Let's see for the text where it says welcome, now it needs to be title. Then we are going to come down to where the text for description is. Now it's going to be description. Then we're going to come down to a material button where it says next, it's going to be button text. And then finally, where it says onPressed, now it's going to be a call to our function onPressed like so. And that's pretty much all we have to do, and command save, restart our application, make sure that everything works. So now what I can do is just copy this onboarding card, add it again, and add it again once more. And now we have 3 different onboarding cards, which if I restart my application, we can go through. So now let's change the content of them. So for the second onboarding card, the image is going to be 2. For the third one, the image will be 3. And then the title for the second one is going to be create an account or choose a course. I just created these random ones like so. And then the description, let me copy and paste that in, is going to be the following. And then I am going to come to the button text, which will still be next, onPressed remains the same. And then I'm going to come to the third and final one where we had updated the image already. So the title in this case is going to be learn personally. And then the description is going to be this. And then finally, the last thing is going to be that the button text now will say done instead of next because we've reached the last screen, and do command save. So now if I restart my application, you're going to see that we're going to be able to scroll through our onboarding flow. And once we reach the final screen, the button says done and everything seems to be working. But now what I want to do is actually add the functionality to our next buttons. So when we click on next, we go to the next screen as well. So to do that, what you can do is for the onPressed callback function, I'm going to do page controller dot, and then we're going to use a function that's available on our page controller which says animate to page. This expects us to give it a page. This page corresponds to the index of the child we want to go to for the list that we passed to our page view. So from my 0th child or my first onboarding card, I want to go to the next one. So the index will be 1. The duration is going to be duration, and you can add any duration, but I'm going to do long one. And then the curve is going to be how we're going to animate between these 2 pages. So curve dot, and you can do linear or anything you want. So in my case, what I'm going to be doing is curves dot linear, and do command save like so. And that's pretty much it. So now that this is done, I'm going to do command save, restart my application. And if I click on next, it's going to take me to the next page. So now I'll copy this code. I will come back to my other onboarding cards, onPressed, and I'm going to paste this here like so, and do command save. And that's pretty much it. So now if I go and update the index here to be 2, because from the second card we want to go to third one, so the third is going to be on index 2. Restart my application, we should be able to go from the first to the second to the third, and then here we can define whatever custom logic we want to define on our done button to maybe navigate the user from our onboarding flow to our home screen. So it works as intended. So one last thing I want to do now is go to my build function for my onboarding page. For the actual smooth page indicator, I want to change the count here to not be this hard-coded 3 that we've defined here, but instead of this be the actual onboarding pages lists length, and do command save. And then finally, I want to update the styling for the actual dot indicators as well. So firstly, what I want to do is define what happens when we click one of these dots, because if we click on them, nothing happens. So for that, we have a function callback called on.click where we get an index passed to us, and we can use this index to do whatever we want. In this case, I'm going to be doing the same thing where I'm going to do page controller.animate to page. This time we're going to be animating to the specific index that we clicked on, do command save. And now you can see that we can go between the different pages using the dots as well. If I change the curve to, let's just say, bounce in and out, let's just say, restart my application, you're going to see that now the actual transition between the pages is going to be a bit different. So you can experiment with these to actually use different effects to animate between your onboarding flow screens. But I'm going to leave it to linear since I like that. And that's pretty much all we had to do. So the final thing I want to do is just update the colors for this. So for that, what I'm going to be doing is defining the effect property for my smooth page indicator. The smooth page indicator allows you to use many different effects such as worm, expanding dots, scrolling dots, scale, swap. So you can use whatever you want. In my case, what I'm going to be doing is using an effect called expanding dots effect, like so. And then here I'm going to be defining the active color for this. So the active color is going to be the primary color of our color scheme that we're going to be deriving from our theme, and doing command save. So now you can see the color matches the color of the button. And then the dot color, which refers to all of the dots which are not currently active, that's going to be the secondary color of our color scheme that we're also going to be deriving from our theme, and doing command save. So now everything is looking fantastic. So let's restart our application. Let's give our onboarding flow a final test. So I can swipe through the screens. Everything looks good. I can use the next buttons to go between the screens. That looks fantastic as well. And I can use the actual smooth page indicators to go between the pages, and all of the UI is updating according to how I had anticipated. So with this said, that's pretty much it for today's tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed and learned how to create an onboarding flow for your Flutter applications. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer them for you. And stay happy, stay healthy, keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.